If you've signed into your crypto portfolio this Monday morning, if you've checked your holdings, you've been greeted by some massive red candles. We've had some major developments over the weekend relating back to what effectively seems to stem from a Japanese global liquidity crisis. We also have Monad, which is crashing, which is liquidating whales. It's trending big time. There's a lot happening. This is your Altcoin Buzz News. All right, so like I said, busy couple of days here, and we've seen some brutal red candles across the market. We're experiencing at least parts of a global liquidity shock in a big way. Japan seems to be at the heart of it. At least that's kind of how crypto is interpreting it. Maybe we're being too dramatic as investors, but that seems to be the common thread here. So for context here, for decades, Japan has always been kind of like a cheap money engine internationally across the world. Investors borrowed yen at very low rates. In turn, that money was pumped into other markets, into bonds, into various assets, and into crypto as well. Well, it would seem that things have flipped here in a significant way. Taking a look at this chart, we see Japan's bond yields, which have surged to highs that we haven't really seen since approximately 2008. And markets right now are expecting the Bank of Japan to raise rates on the 19th of December. And this is going to change things as far as the calculus, as far as the dynamics that we have been accustomed to. So higher yields, these are pulling money back into Japan if that were to happen. And also the yen is getting stronger, which from a Japanese perspective is not a bad thing. But from the international community that has used a cheap yen for decades now, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but obviously, like I said, that changes the dynamic as far as business as usual and how it has been historically. When this kind of thing happens, or when there's a whiff or a suggestion that it's going to happen, investors cut ties with whatever risks they may be associated with, risky assets. And that includes crypto. And then at the same time, Japan is the biggest foreign holder of U.S. treasuries, and they seem to be stepping back here at a time when the United States really does need record borrowing. On top of all that, we saw some other data which does appear to be concerning. We saw some huge Bitcoin selling ahead of President Trump's speech to the tune of over 6,000 BTC sold by Binance. Coinbase sold 3,000. Gemini, as you can see, over 5,000. Kraken sold 1,200 BTC. We don't know exactly what's happening yet, but it does appear that insiders with insider knowledge appear to be positioning themselves ahead of some news that's going to be announced possibly today that's not going to be very positive. Okay, and like I said, we also have Monad, which is pumping and crashing and liquidating a lot of the whales in the space. Monad, M-O-N, is down this last week. As you can see, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this right now. On the one hand, you have some analysts that are saying this is a project that could outperform Solana, whereas I think some of the more sober-minded individuals, Arthur Hayes, for example, he's saying that it could crash 99%. If you're hearing about Monad for the first time and you're unfamiliar with the project, it is a high-performance L1 blockchain designed for a parallelized ultra-fast EVM-compatible execution. So basically like Solana in terms of speed, but Ethereum-like developer experience. The tech does sound very impressive, but the reality is just that the markets have been brutal. For example, we have a single trader here on Hyperliquid who went long on 244 million MON. That's a position, by the way, worth $6.5 million. And then unfortunately, as Mon's price suddenly dipped, his entire position was liquidated, wiping out everything and leaving his account at zero. Here we have another whale that lost $1.9 million. Another one lost $1.3 million. One position that was previously up $2 million was just completely evaporated. And so while Monad does have, some promise, it's positioning itself as the next great L1. Unfortunately, the trading environment surrounding it and in which it finds itself has been just completely unforgiving. And here's the part I would say that may surprise everyone, because even with all the FUD that we see, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, all of the liquidations, all of the criticism, the fact is Monad is already in the top 10 in terms of total transactions across all chains in the last 7 days. And if you only look at EVM chains, it's actually performing even better. It's number 5 under those parameters and those considerations. So for a chain that literally launched 2 weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, that's a pretty good level of activity. And that is an unusual level of achievement as well in terms of its success that it's seen. It does mean, at the very least, that developers are testing it. To be fair, that is objectively true. And experimentation, for better or worse, is happening. In other words, whether or not the token is stable, whether or not the price performance has been impressive, the chain is very active. Let's get into the controversial part here. I'm talking about Arthur Hayes. Specifically, he is the legendary trader, BitMEX founder. He went on Altcoin Daily and obliterated Monad. He called MON, quote, high FDV, low float VC coin.
Will it be enough to power price performance greater than Ethereum? I don't think so. But I think pretty much every other L1 besides Ethereum or Solana is a zero. And they're not going to do very well. The newest one is Monad, right? I think I've been on Twitter trying to tell people that I bought some. I did buy some. I think it's going to be another bear chain. It's going to go down 99%. Because it's another high FTV, low flow piece of VC L1. However, every coin gets their first pump. And people want to believe in the new L1 because everybody wants to invest in the new Ethereum like they would have in 2014 when everyone missed it, me included.
And I encourage you to watch the video here. Arthur explained that projects like this often pump early because there's only effectively a tiny percentage of tokens that are actually in circulation, and that is pretty accurate. That is often the case. And then inevitably, as unlocks start happening, you have crashes that are just cascading precipitously, and the whole thing is down 99% seemingly overnight. The harshest part, arguably, is that Hayes said only BTC, ETH, SOL, and ZEC, that's Zcash, would ultimately survive. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, maybe you're somewhere in the middle, but I would say this is significant. Arthur Hayes is one of the most respected voices in the crypto industry. And when he says something like this, there's a certain sentiment attached to that. It carries weight. It always has. This Altcoin Buzz Spotlight video is sponsored by CoinEx, which is perhaps one of the best exchanges that you haven't heard of. Just like Gate.io or MEXC, they offer a lot of coins, but most importantly, they offer the high quality coins you actually want. And right now, for a limited time, all CoinEx users who deposit BDX get up to 50% cashback. BDX is the native cryptocurrency of the BEDX ecosystem, a decentralized platform focused on user privacy and data confidentiality in Web3. Privacy, of course, as we've covered, is currently a major hot item in crypto, so it's worth checking out BDX, especially with this cashback offer that's on the table. This campaign runs from 1600 hours November 25th to 1600 hours December 2nd, 2025. That is UTC time. And all CoinEx users who apply to the promotion page can participate. During the event, the first 300 users who make a net deposit of 500 BDX or greater can earn cashback rewards. Rewards are going to be allocated according to the ranking of deposit time. And everybody who qualifies gets to share a reward according to their trading volume. So take advantage of the CoinEx BDX deposit and cashback promotion and earn rewards. You can start by setting up your account on CoinEx and earn your part of this prize pool. For more information, check out the links in the description below. Imagine if the app you're using is one of the hottest companies in the world right now, and maybe you don't even realize it. That's Polymarket for you. Polymarket is a decentralized prediction market platform. So on Polymarket, it just means you can bet on any kind of real world event. Everything goes from things like elections, sports, music markets, the list goes on. There really is something for everybody. And this makes Polymarket one of the biggest onboarding platforms in crypto because it's very user friendly. Onboarding is like Web2 onboarding. You can sign up with only your email, and it also lets you use your credit card or bank transfer via integrations like Stripe. We've already talked about the $2 billion investment in Polymarket by ICE, and now Polymarket has just crossed another major milestone. None other than the CFTC has approved intermediation for its markets. The CFTC stands for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. And the CFTC is, of course, an independent US government agency. It regulates the nation's derivatives markets. This includes futures, but also options and swaps. But what does this approval mean in very simple terms? Well, US regulated brokers and financial firms can now give their clients access to Polymarket in a legal and controlled way. Because until now, most people reached Polymarket directly through its website, and this kept many traditional firms on the sidelines. Plus, the rules were kind of unclear, so they couldn't really touch them. However, a new path has opened for regulated intermediaries with this whole approval. Think of brokerage apps, right? Trading firms and financial advisors. Now they can plug into Polymarket and its markets and offer them to their customers. And as an extra bonus, Polymarket is now available again in the App Store in the United States. This all represents a very important shift because it moves Polymarket closer to the mainstream financial system. Prediction markets can now sit beside stocks, ETFs, or options inside normal brokerage experiences. There's also another major advantage, which is that larger pools of capital can now enter. The CFTC created very clear rules to their credit, which is exactly what institutions prefer. It gives them clear rules and, by extension, compliant access. Now, the approval doesn't mean that the CFTC is approving every market that Polymarket lists, but it does show us something else. The agency is willing to let regulated firms connect users to these markets under some degree of supervision. So, this is a clear regulatory green light. It lowers barriers and boosts legitimacy. And as a result, it sets Polymarket up for major growth across the entirety of the US financial industry.